Good afternoon. It's Friday, February 20th at 4:45 p.m. Your USA men's hockey team is up 5-0 on Slovakia. And I'm doing a podcast to talk about that. Not really. I'm just kidding. Jay and I have been talking a lot about, he's a big hockey fan. I'm a pseudo hockey fan. I love seeing the U.S. win in anything. I really do. But the women won the gold, yesterday? Last night? Yesterday? And the men now are on the way to the finals. If they can hold on here, it's second period, and they're up 5-0, so it looks pretty good. I'm going to talk also. The main reason I'm meeting with you all today is just to talk a little bit about basketball and some perspective and some things that I've been thinking about. And I don't know if they're going to come out good at all. I don't know if they're going to come out well, but I wanted to get together before the IU game. It's about 3 hours and 15 minutes till tip-off from God's country, from Mackey Arena, where Purdue plays IU for the second, probably the final time this season. We'll just look at what's ahead for your Boilers. Before I do it, I want to thank the people who made my sweatshirt, Home Field Apparel. Mine is a little weathered. My Purdue basketball sweatshirt is a little weathered, but you can get one that's fresh. So homefieldapparel.com, get a sweatshirt like this, get one of the other things with the Purdue basketball script, get a t-shirt, get a hat, jacket, whatever you'd like, almost anything your heart desires, homefieldapparel.com. And also, if you're at Mackey tonight and it's a little chilly and Purdue manages to beat IU, what do? Well, you head out of Mackey on a brisk walk and you head towards the fire station. And when you get to the fire station, you turn left. And when you go inside, it's going to be warm. It's going to be your friends at AJ's welcoming you, greeting you, beckoning you in, saying, "Hey, friend, take a load off. How was the game?" Well, and then they're gonna treat you well. They're gonna treat you probably better than your own family does, if we're being real honest. They're gonna give you a burger. They're gonna give you some Italian beef. They're gonna give you some delicious appetizers. They got so many choices there, and maybe a pint with a boiled sports magnet in the bottom of it if it's game day like it is today. So if you're on the way there right now, if you're driving to God's country right now, getting ready to watch your Boilermakers play IU, keep AJ's in mind. AJ's, burgers, beef, beer, boiled sports magnets at the bottom of your pint, eatajs.com. Adam's a good dude. Adam and Jake are both good dudes. You should go there. So I have a couple thoughts. First one is, when you look at the computer polls, Purdue's pretty solid. When you look at the human polls, Purdue's pretty solid. They're not in a bad position. They're in an enviable position for most teams in America, right? Right now, according to Ken Palm, Purdue is the 8th best team in America. They're pretty good in multiple metrics. If you look at their forecast for the remainder of the season, Ken Palm thinks they'll win all the remaining games. The closest game Ken Palm thinks is, look at this real quickly, Michigan State. They think Purdue should win by 5 in that game. Also, the net, which is really important when the committee, I think they still lean a bit on the net. The net has Purdue at 8th as well. So 2 computer polls have Purdue listed at 8. On top of that, another very important metric is when you look at the most quad 1 wins in America. Purdue is tied for 4th after Michigan, Duke, and Arizona. They all have 10 wins, and the next, Purdue and Florida, are tied with 8 quad 1 wins. After that, you've got UConn with 7. I know Iowa State has 6, and a couple other have 6. So Purdue's in a pretty darn good position when it comes to seeding. They're in a pretty darn good position when it comes to just having success this year. The things that have probably sailed, the Big Ten Championship has probably sailed. If you're somebody who loves that part of the season and the chance of Purdue racking up another Big Ten Championship to take a bigger lead on the rest of the conference and how many Big Ten Championships they've won, that one looks like it's sailed unless they make a statement in the postseason tournament, which I think is one of the most worthless events in the world. The reason I say that, just to give you an idea, is because it doesn't affect seeding anymore. Almost never does it affect the seed for the tournament. And then on the other side of it, you get credit for a Big Ten championship, but I think everybody really knows you earned the Big Ten championship in the regular season. What Michigan has done, the fact they're running away with it, is pretty incredible. They're clearly the best team in the Big Ten right now. But when you look at all these metrics, you say Purdue's in a pretty good position. Are they in a position to get a 2 seed? Maybe. There's still a lot of basketball that can be played that can change things up a little bit. If Purdue pees down their leg in a couple games, they could drop. But also, other teams are going to lose at the same time. Purdue is not in a vacuum. Are they going to get a high 3? Maybe. I think it looks like to me that they're a 2 to 4 seed, regardless of what happens. If they really, really do poorly, I think they could drop all the way to 4. I think they're probably going to be 2 to 3. And if I were a betting man right now, I think I'd put them at a 2, just because of the name cachet is still pretty good. Purdue's still respected among much of the college basketball world for what they've done the last few years. So there are a couple things that I look at that I think are important about what Purdue can do with the remaining part of the season. The biggest one, and we saw it versus Michigan. Michigan's a better team. Michigan has better personnel. Could Purdue have beaten them? Yes. Am I making excuses? I had somebody, it's an amazing phenomenon that's happens this year, is that on one hand, I'm told that I'm too critical of Purdue, and then on the other hand, I'm told that I am too easy and I am weak on Purdue. People say they stop listening to me because I make excuses. I don't think I'm a person that makes excuses. But what I will say is Michigan's a good team, and they've proven it over and over that they're the best team in the Big Ten. And when you play a team that's that good, you don't have the ability to make as many mistakes as Purdue did the last game. You sure as hell don't have the ability, or that you're not in the position to make mistakes for 9 straight minutes and to give a team that much of a foothold that's that good. You can't keep allowing a team that's that good to shoot open threes. You can't keep missing layups. You can't keep missing open 15, 13 footers, right? Like Purdue did in that first half. You can't do it. A good team will make you pay. And Michigan, sure enough, made Purdue pay. And they put them down by 20 points in the first half. And then coming back on Michigan is a tall order. That is a very good defense. That's a very good offense. It's a well-coached team. Purdue damned themselves, right? Did Michigan do what they had to do? Yeah, they did. You knock down shots on the road, that's impressive. No doubt that's impressive, right? Michigan's really good. That's the whole thing. But when I look ahead, when I look at the teams that are really elite in America, you may see it differently, but I think it's clear to me Arizona and Michigan are truly elite. After those two, I also think that Duke is obviously up there just because all the metrics say it. I still am not a Duke believer. I don't think they belong in that conversation. I may be alone in that when I say that. I have no faith in John Shire. And the fact that they are so young, I think comes into play. I think it matters in the tournament. I think it's easy to get rattled in tournaments, especially when you're in an arena that no one wants you to win, which happens from time to time. And depending upon where Duke gets sent, I don't know where they might get sent. I haven't looked that deep into it. I don't care. I'm not a Duke fan. But things happen. And it's not just so much the first round. The chances of Duke losing first or second round obviously aren't very good. But it's the second and third round that I'd be worried about. I'd be on guard if I were Duke. Duke has some very, very talented players, probably the most talented players right out of the box consistently. I'm aware of all that. But there's some other schools that I'm like, man, they're every bit as good as Duke. I would put Houston ahead of Duke. I think Houston is a team that if you're not impressed by Kelvin Sampson, I don't know what you've been watching. It's not just 1 year, 2 year, it's a decade. Guy's really, really good. Houston's been good in the postseason. They've been good during the season. Their team is they're a little younger than they were last year, but they may be better built because they have incredible point guard play. I know he's a freshman. I know freshmen can get rattled again. But man, he is as talented as anybody in America. And then on top of that, they have a defensive system that is tough for anybody to prepare for. We saw it with Purdue last year, but Purdue was able to counteract that because of what? Purdue's point guard, Braden Smith. That's why I put him in the thumbnail today, because it's time for Braden Smith to turn the whole thing up. right? It's time for the whole senior class to turn up. And to me, there have been signs the last few games that they're doing it. They're already in the process of it, okay? But when you look at these elite teams, let's look at this really, really quickly. When you look at the fact that you've got a group of teams that are better than everybody else, and then you have a group that's really, really good, really solid, right? Darn it, this thing's not clicking. So Michigan, Duke, Arizona, and then this next group, I have Houston there, and I have Houston in front of Duke, like I said, just in teams that I think are have the best odds of winning a national championship. But Illinois is right there for me just because of who they are and how they're comprised. I know that there's reason to believe until a coach proves to you they can win in the tournament with consistency, there's fair reason to be skeptical because there's a reason some guys win and some guys don't win in the tournament, right? But Illinois, the way that team is put together, the age of that team, the experience of that team, the length of that team, the athleticism of that team, it's all noteworthy to me. It's got my attention. Florida has to have your attention because they've won national championships, right? But they've won one very recently. Like I said, Houston's up there. Iowa State's very good. Some people say Gonzaga is. I'm not going to say that. Michigan State with Tom Izzo, sure, I put them there. People put Nebraska on their list of teams that might win the national championship too. I don't have them on mine because, again, there are multiple reasons there. It's very tough for a team, even a team as experienced as Nebraska, to go and do something your program has never done in an unprecedented way. And they've got a lot of success in front of them before you can call them a contender in the NCAA tournament. Okay, so when I look at those teams, when I say who is the team that Purdue can't beat in that group, right? I don't see anybody that Purdue can't beat. And I might be sounding ridiculous, but let's take Michigan. Very, very good team. Obviously, best team in America. Again, how many times does Michigan beat Purdue out of 10 times? I'd probably say 6 or 7, but there's 3 or 4 there where Purdue can win. And I'm not saying that they're leagues ahead of Purdue. I think if Purdue plays as well as they're capable of, if they don't give up the game for 9 minutes, you got a different look right there, right? And regardless of who you've got in front of you, regardless of what Purdue's doing, right? Purdue has been in the top 10 all year. Don't lose sight of that. Many Purdue fans have lost sight of it because they're not in the top 3 to 5. The other thing is in the tournament, you have to beat one team at a time. And those other teams that you look at the bracket, there's other teams that want to knock them out just as badly as you want to knock those teams out, right? You don't have to beat everybody in the tournament. Other teams can handle some of your business. And chances are it's not going to be chalk, right? Talk about that all the time. As much as the tournament is exciting, there's still an element of certain guys, certain coaches have systems that work. Point guard play generally works. Dynamic guard play generally works, right? So there's some things you'd say Purdue looks like one of those teams, and other things they don't look like one of those teams, right? I'm not somebody who ever bets on college basketball, and I think you're a fool, and I mean this if you bet on college basketball for multiple reasons. But one of the biggest ones is college basketball is affected by the mood of these guys as much as any sport, and it's definitely as much as any sport that is taken seriously. It's a professional game. But at the same time, some of these guys, like those point guards that I was talking about, like Cam Boozer, they're 19 years old. I don't understand the idea of laying down money on that. That's just me. But I also am very cheap. There's my asterisk. So if you do it, I hope you have a lot of money because you're going to lose a lot of money too. That's that. And I got one more thing. I was looking at the age of teams, and I think this is really noteworthy. One thing Painter likes to say is get old, stay old, right? And this Purdue team is old. It's one of the oldest teams in America. Average age of Purdue right now is 22.4 years old. And why are they that old? If you don't know this, and I knew it, but I didn't know it. Oscar Clough is 24 years old. TKR is 23 years old. Lawyer and Smith are both 23, and Cox is 21 years old. That's a old starting 5, right? That's part of the reason that Purdue fans are like, man, this team could be different. And I still think this team could be different. One of the things that I don't love about this team, but you might love it, depending on your perspective. Everything is about perspective. But when you listen to midweek interviews, which I've been listening to a lot of this week, for this Purdue squad, the way they are even keel, it doesn't matter win or lose. It seems like you get the same answers. Is that a good or a bad thing? For me, as a guy who's excitable, not a great thing, because I would like to see guys get pissed off every now and again. And I know they do behind closed doors, and some of them, TKR at times this year, get pissed off in front of your eyes, right? But the fact that you have guys that are saying, hey, we have to play these games, go into them with the same approach every game. Now, do they? Or is that just talk? That's up for you to decide and them to really show you what's the case. But they're a very even-keel team. At least off the court. They handle their business in front of the camera very professionally. Now, have they been even-keel on the court? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think that's one of the most stunning things for Purdue fans this year has been like, what the heck are you supposed to do? You're this old and you're not consistent? You're this old, you haven't figured some of these basics out, right? Haven't figured out how to handle a screen. Dustin Schutte. I know his name's Dustin, not Dennis. He had a great theory, and I don't know if he said it publicly, so why not? He has a theory that the reason Purdue struggles at home, the reason Purdue struggles at Mackey, is because Mackey's so loud when Purdue's on defense, and this team does not communicate well on switches, that they can't handle Mackey's noise. It's a really interesting theory because, boy, it looks like this team struggles with communication all the time. Painter has talked about this team struggling with communication. And it'd be ironic if Mackey Arena is the reason. I have a different theory on that. I actually think that this team is really comfortable at Mackey Arena. And when this team gets comfortable, they let their guard down. When this team's uncomfortable, when Braden Smith is uncomfortable, Braden Smith is he's a different dude. He's an absolute bulldog when he's uncomfortable, right? Because he starts fighting his way out of the corner. So, I don't know. You can tell me what you think about this if you want to in the comments or right now live. But I think it's an interesting theory, if nothing else, that Schutte gave us. And he's a good one, by the way. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. Marshall Briggs is here. He says he's first, and he is. CSD, boiler up, same to you. Marshall continues, says, finally, what's up, Dowd? How are you? Hope you're excited about tonight. I don't think you got to a game this year. I know you talked about that at one point. I don't think you came up for a basketball game, but hope life's good down south. I'm sure it is. Steve Azzano says second. No, you're third, Steve. Bad news. Greg McManus, how are you doing? Doc Kevin says, good afternoon, Dad. Same to you. Steve reminds us it's a welcome surprise for me to be on the Friday afternoon. It's a different idea that I talk to you guys before a game, and every now and again I try things. I'm like, let's see if this works, right? I got some energy just like you do into the work week. I've got some thoughts. Obviously been stewing on things a little bit. I don't know if it does me any good to do any of these things, honestly. Like this type of podcast. I don't know if it helps you, but I'm sure. Here's one thing that I've found out, that many of you use this as entertainment as you're driving or a way to get in the right mindset as you're going to Purdue. So there's some of you probably on the way to Mackey right now, and that's kind of fun for me to think. So I'm vicariously living through you as I am in my office right now. Ted Berkey says, long time no chat. Good to be back. Glad you're here, Ted. Nick Cristiano says, B-Dowd, happy Friday. Hope all is well. Let's beat IU, get this thing going, get this game right. Tamaz says, awesome to have this. Glad to make your afternoon. Greg Manis says, have your varsity radio simulcast queued up? Oh no, it's Gus and Jim Jackson on TV. Yeah, get your varsity app ready. I will have mine. I cannot listen to a game with Gus Johnson. And I know there are many people that disagree with me. I don't understand it. I just don't understand the entertainment value that Gus Johnson brings. I know he has some good moments. I know that. And that's why he's so good in the soundbite era, where he ends up being on your Twitter feed for a highlight. And he'll probably have one today. But gosh, he's tough. And Jim Jackson with him, no thanks. So it'll be varsity app for me. Yeah, it's one thing that was very interesting. I don't know if you guys heard this. I think it was Cadeau from Michigan. He said he's been at Duke as a North Carolina player. And he said he's been in other places. He said, but Mackey Arena in the beginning of the game was one of the most loud places he's ever been. So Mackey hasn't lost its specialness. I know many of you have guessed that because the record has been less than ideal this year. In fact, so less than ideal, this is the first time Purdue's lost 3 games at home since 2019, 2020, the team that was not going to make the NCAA tournament. They were not very good that year. The team was not very good. That doesn't mean Mackey wasn't that good. I think Mackey's generally dialed in, and I don't take anything away from the people that are there every game. I surely don't take anything away from the paint crew, who is just the best student section of America, no doubt. Obviously, I'm biased, but I'm scientifically biased. Boiler Bugle says, don't think they'll win over IU. No fire in this team. So I disagree with you completely. I see fire in this team. And I've seen fire in the last 2 games, and I do think they're going to beat IU. I didn't go public with my thoughts about Michigan. I do see fire in this team. And I saw fight in the second half, which was really promising. I don't think this team is as fiery as some of them that we've loved. And I think that might be the problem for Purdue fans. We've been spoiled by having guys who are absolute red asses play for Purdue. I'm not just thinking about Chris Kramer, but Chris Kramer comes to mind. I think that Jack Benner is going to develop into a guy like that, but right now he's an underclassman, so it's hard to do that. But I think, again, that even keel persona of this team, I understand why you think things are that way. And I think what they've done, it's hard to get into the psychology of people you really don't know. But I think what this group has done is said to themselves over and over and over, we need to act professionally. We need to handle ourselves a certain way. We need to be unflappable. And Painter is the type of guy that I think he's tried to remain even keel, right? That's his persona. They've been around him a long time. Don't forget that. And so they think this is absolutely the right way to do things. But they're also still young. I mean, in the grand scheme of life, right? So what they think may be professional comes off as aloof. It's almost like Joe Barry Carroll or A.J. Hammonds, right? Who, sure, they cared about winning, but they were more laid back than what we were used to as Purdue fans. Let's see. Is Illinois even over there? What is that? Tomas says, if Fletch hits 3 or more threes, we win. If not, no. Simple formula. I don't know if it's that simple. Here's what I'd like to see out of this team. And I'm going to, for a moment, take the pressure off the seniors. What I am bothered by with this team more than anything is that when one of the guys who is supposed to play well, let's say TKR, Fletch, Smith, when one of those guys is not playing their best game, it feels to me, in almost every game this year, you haven't seen someone step up. In past years, different versions of this, you'd have somebody rise to the occasion. We saw it in, was that the Nebraska game where was that Harris and Cox rose to the occasion. Did not intend to say it that way. But that was a great demonstration of how a good Purdue team plays, where the next guy comes and knocks down shots when someone's not knocking down shots, when someone is not in the right headspace to look for their shot, that sort of thing. That's another thing I think as Purdue fans we're pretty used to, is seeing that it's mental depth, really, more than physical depth. It's mental depth. It's guys that are like, yeah, I'm ready for the shot. I'm ready to take it. And I don't think we see a lot of that in this Purdue team. So I think that might be the toughest thing for me to watch, honestly. Boilermaker 6359 says, USA Hockey and B-Dowd, what a great afternoon. Yeah, and it's this game has been a fun one to watch. It's funny, every time I put my head, well, it's 5-0 still, 18 minutes left. They are on cruise control. I think you can officially say that. But like I said, I cannot claim that I am a good hockey fan at all because I'm not. But this team's been fun to watch. The women were incredible to watch. I was surprised that they got scored on, and what the women had been not scored on 300 days or something, 331 days. Incredible. Young Racing says Purdue would be better off as a 3 seed in Chicago than a 2 out west. No doubt about that. And that's what I think Newbert has been talking a little bit about that. That's for all of us to wrestle with, and it really doesn't matter at this point. But there's a lot of stuff that can still happen, positively and negatively. When you look at the remaining schedule, here's one of the biggest things that I'm worried about. I'll confess this, is that with teams on the schedule that there aren't a lot, there's a couple games left where you don't gain a lot, right? That Ohio State and Northwestern game specifically bother me because you lose those games, it gets people's attention. I don't like that a whole bunch, right? Losing to a team like Michigan State, I don't think would piss anybody off, bother anybody. I even think Wisconsin isn't that big of a deal. But losing to IU again, obviously, would bother us for multiple reasons. Ohio State and Northwestern, those games would bother me. So there's a lot of things that can happen. If you remember, I said this 5-game swing was really, really important. We're in game 4 of that 5-game stretch that was so important. If you come out of that 5-game stretch 4-1, pretty solid. In fact, really solid. You still have IU and Michigan State at home to entertain, so we can see what happens there. Boiler Up Hammer Down says, did I see Purdue football has the 10th ranked portal class? You did. Sounds dangerously close to me having unrealistic hype. Yeah, don't get too hyped about this, but yeah, depending on where you're reading, I think they were 13th at one point. They dropped down to 23rd or something. I think they went back up. They've been buoyed. Yeah, it's a good portal class, and it fulfills a lot of needs. I think there are a lot of Purdue football fans that we'll talk soon that are really bothered by the wide receiver position, the quarterback position, not getting enough love, not enough attention. I like some of these wide receivers. I think they're a bit under the radar. They got a big possession receiver. They got a speedy water bug receiver out of the portal. So we'll see if it's enough. But the big thing is you have to have an offense that can spread the ball around, no doubt about it. Ed Albanese says, hey, I will be cheering for the Indiana Bears soon. Yeah, so, yeah, if you've been keeping your eye on that, I know a lot of Bears fans are on here, but the fact that this is still going, I think bothers a lot of real Bears fans, but the fact that they could be in Hammond, Indiana, it's crazy. And I think a lot of Bears purists would say there's no reason for them ever to move out of Chicago. And I tend to agree. I don't like the fact that, I mean, I'm not a Bears fan, but I would be bothered that there's any talk that they would move out of Chicago. That said, the tax advantageousness of them going to Indiana is real. It's very real. Yeah, there we get into a much bigger discussion about ownership and taxes and paying for your own stadium. That it could be a good discussion, but I'm not going to do that right now. Matt Keller says Indiana Bears. Nate Dolance, he calls them the Hammond Bears. I think that's the right moniker, no doubt about it. Matt Hone says, I love our team's offense. I am hoping our defensive coordinator and Pank can come up with a game plan that helps us slow down the scoring of the opponent's three-point range. I am very bothered by the way this team addresses the three-pointer. So I'm with all of you that have concern about this. And if you saw Ant Wright's breakdown of this, I put it up. I posted it, said I agreed with it. There's been a lot of short videos that I've agreed with in the wake of the Michigan game, but the way that Michigan was given so much space to make threes as Purdue decided to collapse a double or even a triple team sometime into the lane to take away bunnies. I get it, but at some point you have to say, this isn't working. And it looked like there was no adjustment, and that's not great. So the bad news is Purdue plays a team that's undersized in IU that can knock down threes if given open looks, and we've already seen this once, so we'll see what happens here. Greg Manis says, also the tournament is on the road. Tournament is at neutral sites. So you're saying, Eric Haslam posted some trends for Purdue yesterday as far as home and the road. Purdue's metrics are better on the road. It's really weird. You're right. And I've seen those same metrics. I saw Haslam's metrics, but I saw other people have talked about this. It's incredible. And you remind everybody the tournament's on the road. Yeah, I don't understand it. And I think it all comes down to guys playing with a chip on their shoulder. That's why I think so much of this is mental. It's not so much what Dustin Schutte thinks in that it's communication and noise. I think it's more mental. I think it's between the ears on this team. And I think that's what annoys many of you so badly. Greg Mess says Lucas Oil's still on the road, not in Mackey. It's true. Well, it's just, no doubt about it. Let's see. I'm going to get down a little bit here. Denver Graham says, is an even keel vertical or horizontal? I think that's a sailing question. I don't know. But that's a good question, and I think it should be addressed by somebody who knows. Thank you for the question. Connor P. Bradley. I'm glad he put the P in there. We have mixed up with Connor A. Bradley. I don't know who it is. We need one of those games where the team shoots 18 to 28 from three in Mackey. Tonight would be a great night for that. I'm just ready for a night where Mackey madness is tangible and the team looks like it's tangible, and everybody leaves with big smiles on their faces. I've got a son who is going to be in the paint crew. Many of you are in the same position, and I FaceTime my son after almost every game anyway, just to hear his thoughts, see if he saw anything that I didn't, because he's very different than me. He's very analytical. He looks at stats all the time to see if it proves what he thinks. But I like talking to him after a win. I can remember his first big win at Mackey was when Purdue beat Alabama. His first big win in the paint crew, and it was just so much fun talking to him after that. So I want him to see as many wins as he can. Boiler Up, Hammer Down says the intensity early on during the Michigan game was wild. Keep that up, and we steamroll through the remaining schedule. Yeah, the team reflected that, right? But pretty quickly, Michigan started knocking down threes, and really they quieted everybody up, and the team played differently, played worse. They played. I don't think they ever got to the point where, like what we've seen a couple times this year, where they were not like Iowa State. They were hanging their shoulders and their head. That was really disheartening for me. That was rough. I never saw that during the Michigan game. It's part of the reason I believe more in this team than I did a couple weeks ago. M3 Adjuster says, Boiler Up, go USA. Now 13:21 left. Slovakia has scored. So still 4-point lead, 4-goal lead, 5-1. Ripset says, Ohio State game has me on the full alert, and I agree with you. Aggie Nurse says, love watching the show from here in North Carolina. Boiler Up, let's win against IU. I was just talking about North Carolina to Jay Money, and we both think that we would like, part of us at least, when I say part of us, meaning there's a part in our heart or our head that thinks that's where I'd eventually like to retire to. Yeah, I think the place that I look at, it always comes up for me is New Bern, North Carolina. So glad you're listening in North Carolina, but part of me envies you, especially as it cools back down. We had 65 degrees for 2 days here, and now it's back into the freezing cold. So thanks for listening. Ripset says, wait, you got me already. Adam Warso says, hi from AJ's. So if Adam's calling from AJ's, hopefully Adam has tuned us in, and my face is ginormous on the wall, and people get to enjoy that. Keep your lunch down if that's the case. I apologize to all you if that's the case, but thanks for saying hi, Adam. Greg Manis says, I was not aware last season for football that 40+ of the transfers out and in happened after spring. That window no longer exists. Yeah, that was really different to me and weird, and I've heard some accounts. I'm not going to talk about the sources right now, about some of the way the coaches handled that, and they let kids have the chance to prove if they wanted to be in the program, is the way I understand this. And then if they weren't impressed, they said, okay, it's not going to work out, right? You haven't gone up the depth chart. Maybe you can find another place. So that window is supposedly closed. I find it hard to believe that there won't be transfers in the summer or in the spring, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've actually done something that will stick and the rules will work, but it seems like nothing works, no matter what the NCAA does, because they do things and they get sued because they didn't think about it and they lose the lawsuit. Wash, rinse, repeat. M3 Adjuster says, agree on the Ohio State concerns. Nate Daunt says, Soldier Field renovations in the 2000s. Bears and NFL paid off their debts. City of Chicago still owes $300+ million on those renovations. That is incredible. Yeah, that's when the spaceship landed on Soldier Field, right? When everything, it feels like that was a lot more recent than it was, I guess. But somebody give me a year on that. That's crazy. It seems like it was in the last decade. Alleged Order says, hi, Dowd. Happy Friday. Finally made a live stream. Hammered down on the Hoosiers tonight. Right on. Let's see. Boiler Up, Hammer Down says, I think the Colts should see what they have in Riley Leonard or pay Daniel Jones. I thought Daniel Jones was a bad idea, a bad way to put your place to put your money. Well, now, tell me if I'm wrong, he's going to be out for a while. What was Jones? Was Jones' injury Achilles? Thought it was. But he's going to be out for a little bit. Or is he going to be, are they saying he could be back by camp? I don't think he can. So I think that kind of forces their hand to give the ball to Leonard. I like what I saw in Leonard. I thought he was pretty solid. I don't think he's a long-term answer either. I don't think Daniel Jones is all it. Stranger things have happened, but I thought Daniel Jones that was an absolute just haymaker, a prayer, and it was a pretty good one. But what Daniel Jones did is it's pretty easy. Richardson just made awful decisions, and he couldn't throw an accurate check down. If you can throw an accurate check down in this era in the NFL, you can do a lot of damage, right? Jones made good decisions, threw a good check down. He's a good quarterback, but huge difference. But the thing that makes me think it was a bit of smoke and mirrors is that other defensive coordinators figured out the Colts, right? It was before Jones was injured that the Colts started looking pretty human, pretty one-dimensional, I guess. And then they started keying in on Taylor, and that was problems. So, I mean, look at Taylor's numbers fell, and it wasn't because he stopped running hard. But let's see. Greg Manis says the NCAA removed the post-spring practice portal window. It's gone for now. Yeah. It just feels to me like nothing is ever real. Like you hear things like that. They say, no more window. And then you'll hear like one of the blue chips will get 5 guys for some reason. They'll just, oh no, they were already in the portal. They just hadn't signed. So, and it's like, but the window was closed. I think all the rules are a sham right now, Craig. So, and I don't believe anything or get too excited, whether it's recruiting magazines or whatever, until they're on campus and they're practicing and it's about to be go time. I don't care what it is. Right? We've learned our lesson in both sports quite a bit last few years, I think. Inzesser. Gosh darn it, these names. Inzesser. The spaceship landed on Soldier Field in September 2003. I agree. Thought it was much more recent. I'm old. That's what that tells you. It's been 22 years. I'm old. So, thanks to everybody from tuning in. It's been 35 minutes. I'm gonna see you again after the game. So, to everybody's on the way, go get the win for us. Sorry we can't be there with you, but be loud. And those of you who are like me, who are teetering and going back and forth on how you feel about this whole thing, keep in mind there are just so many fan bases that wish they were in the position that Purdue is in. Purdue is a good program that's good almost year after year. They've had really one bad season in the last 8 probably, I think you'd say. And that was not a good season. 2020 was not a good season. But this one's not a bad season, regardless of what you think. It's a very good season. It's a very good season. Analytics show it. Wins and losses show it. Having 4 wins or 4 losses or whatever. Yeah, 4 losses in the Big Ten. It's not bad this late in the season. This is a tough conference too. So everybody keep their wits a little bit. So have a great evening. We'll talk to you after the game. Hammer down. Go Boilers beat IU. See ya.